Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff. With me is Jesse, and we are going to recap the Monday Night Football game that happened last night between the Buccaneers and the Steelers. What were your thoughts on it first, Jesse?
The game itself, Steelers weren't great. Well, first half they were great. The Bucs, Fitzpatrick pretty much turned into what I thought he was. 3 interceptions. I think we've all seen this before. He didn't really play well. I mean, he did put up stats, but again, I don't think you can really value garbage time stats in the second half.
Would you say that the Buccaneers have lost their momentum?
I mean, I don't know, because you know what, Fitzpatrick, he's not... I think we all know that he wasn't going to stick around for the rest of the season. I'm not sure really... yeah, they had momentum. I'd say no, they haven't lost it. But, I mean, a season with Ryan Fitzpatrick starting all 16 games is a lost cause, no matter how you put it, for me at least.
Yeah. Well, I can safely say he's doing better than I would ever have done, coming from a guy who does not in that position and all that kind of thing. But I would definitely say that this is a wake-up call for the Steelers as well as the Buccaneers. I would say this wake-up call is, okay, we got this win. We got over this 3-week slump we've been on. Let's get back on the grind and let's get back into a playoff play that we always know we can be. As for the Buccaneers, it's like, so we got to prove that this 3 weeks wasn't a fluke and that we are that good and we can get in the playoffs and we can be a Super Bowl contender. So I think that both these teams have a lot to prove for in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the Bucs. Yeah, they do have a good team. I'd say mine is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I might come off as a Ryan Fitzpatrick hater. And if I'm labeled as that, that's fine.
I think it's this Ryan Fitzpatrick realist.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the first 2 games were great. Yes, he's broken the NFL record for 3 games in a row with 400 passing yards or whatever. That's fine. That's great. That's dandy. We all know he's going to come back down to earth at some point. It's inevitable. It's happened literally every single season he's been in the league, every time he's played. Okay, let's not forget, this was also the guy who threw 6 interceptions in 1 game with the Jets. That quarterback is here. And one thing I've learned over the year is that whatever a quarterback has done, or player, I should say, a player has done over his NFL career for the most part, that is who the player will be for the rest of his career. You can't really expect a guy in year 12, whatever Fitzpatrick is in, to suddenly improve or be this great guy. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the guy that we've saw over his career, is who he is now. A few games isn't going to change that, I'd say.
True, I agree with you on that. Not two games or 3 games for that matter, because he threw for 400 again, doesn't get that passed off your back. It doesn't give that weight that you've been struggling your whole career off.
Yeah, and I mean...
It changes nothing.
Yeah, the guy's a solid backup quarterback.
If he wins the MVP and wins a Super Bowl, I don't think even that would take away a bunch of his past.
Well, I mean, that'd be a complete...
I'm just using that as the biggest of examples, most ridiculous scenario. But then you got to think, okay, he's had one... Like, his game had one. You can consider him as maybe a long shot for the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC last year type of thing.
Well, I mean, you look at it, I think Fitzpatrick, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, he's just not starting quarterback material. The dude, if he was a backup, would be one of the best backups in the league.
Well, that's kind of what he's doing. He's technically replacing the starting quarterback. He is replacing the starting quarterback at the moment, so he is doing the backup's job.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's all just a huge waste of time here.
Do you think as soon as Winston's ready to go, they'll just move on?
I'd say give him a week. Granted, you don't want Jameis Winston, I mean, missing 3 games coming into his first game with the Chicago Bears defense. I mean, that defense has been absolutely disgusting. You look at what Stevie Wilkes, the Arizona Cardinals head coach, did. I mean, throwing Josh Rosen in with 2 minutes left in the game to make his debut against that Bears defense. I mean, you're setting him up to fail at that point. I think that's what you'd be doing with Jameis Winston.
So you think you're setting him up for failure if you go with him again? Or go with Winston
at least for week 4. I'd
week?
say give him a week to get back with the team, practice and all that. Because, again, he has been away from the team. He hasn't been able to talk football with the team for that matter. So that's obviously in terms of his suspension. So
well, maybe you shouldn't do stuff illegal.
Yeah, so I'd say, well, that's besides the point. But I'd say for the week, you get him back with the team, talking with his receivers and all of that, and then week 5, I'd say, is when you bring Winston
like rebuild the chemistry.
Well, pretty much, and pretty much. You just get integrated and again and all that. Because, like I said, it's just a waste of time with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick isn't the long-term answer, and we're not even sure that Jameis Winston is the long-term answer. But you need to figure that out sooner rather than later.
Is it too soon to call Winston a bust?
I mean, yeah, I mean he's only in year 4 currently.
Feels like he's been in the league for a while.
Yeah,
I guess 4 years is a while, but hasn't made the playoffs in those 4 years. Has he played a full 16-game season?
I'd have to double-check that, but I mean...
I don't think so.
His first 2 years, he didn't really have anything to work with. Last year was the first year he had where he actually had decent talent around him, and even then, I mean, they had the hurricane in Florida that happened, so they had to take their bye week 1. Then you play 16 straight games, and he has to deal with a shoulder injury. I mean...
So you think he's kind of like... He was given a very bad hand going in. Well, I guess if you're the first overall pick, you're always given a bad hand.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, last year's when he had an opportunity, but I mean, they weren't really set up to succeed given all the outside circumstances that took place. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the guy's a knucklehead and all that, but as far as his football ability, he has all the tools to eventually become a top 10 quarterback. He's not that yet. He's got to develop into that, but he does have the tools, I'd say.
I honestly got a bad taste in my mouth when I first saw him play that Rose Bowl against Oregon, where he just completely collapsed. I thought that would have cost him the first overall pick.
I mean, I don't think you can use one game against the guy. You look at a body of work over his couple years there. I mean, the guy did win a national championship, too. I think they went undefeated that season and beat Auburn in that national championship, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
Yeah.
That was the last second play, I believe, that took him to the championship.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at his first 2 years. I'm looking at stats on Pro Football Reference. He made the Pro Bowl his rookie year. They went 6-10, threw for over 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 15 picks, 58% completion percentage. The next year he improved. They went 9-7 that year, nearly 4,100 yards, 28 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. And then that past year, which was last year, I mean, they had the hurricane, played 16 games in a row, and he had his shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm. So there is a lot to go on from his career in Tampa Bay. So we can't say he's a bust yet. I think that's what we're going to agree on there. And it's a wait and see. Except it's the same thing with Marcus Mariota, the pick right after him. Mm-hmm. So what I would say definitely is like Mariota did not take that team to the playoffs. Like he didn't lead that team to the playoffs. I think we can agree on that. I think they got in there.
They limped in there, I'd say.
Huh?
They kind of just limped in there, kind of just barely got in.
Crawled, like they hung on by the skin of their teeth. And in that game against Kansas City, you can call luck.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Andy Reid...
That was the biggest collapse, one of the biggest collapses in playoff history.
That's just Andy Reid being Andy Reid at that point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, I would say, okay, we should go move to the Steelers. Do you think they can make the playoffs without Bell?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger has been there, done it all before. Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he hasn't had Le'Veon Bell his entire career, so he knows what it takes to get out of there. Let's not forget that they also do have, at least in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the league. My only concern really with the Steelers isn't Le'Veon Bell, although that, I mean, I feel like we can kind of move on from Bell as far as, I think we can both agree he probably won't be playing for the Steelers this season. If he does play the season, it will be for a different team.
Yeah, definitely. The only reason I see him playing is if he's traded or...
If they don't trade him, then obviously I think he'll be back, but I just don't...
But I don't think he'll start. I think he'll refuse to play.
I don't think he'd do that. Because I think
it's a possibility. Or they'll bench him.
If you're the Steelers, though, can you really bench a guy with that talent? Does that really make sense, given, you're playing for something much bigger?
Sorry, it's early. I yawned. Excuse me. But, yes, I think it's one of those things where is the player good enough for the character to be that toxic?
The NFL's shown year after year that, if you're a good football player, they'll just keep bringing you back.
Yeah, but...
And Le'Veon Bell hasn't necessarily done anything too wrong. The guy just is thinking of himself, which I have no problem with. He's just thinking long term.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And they're kind of lowballing him on contracts as of late. So I definitely think he should be paid because he is probably the number 1 or number 2 running back in the league at the moment. If anyone's close to him, I think it would be Todd Gurley. Or do you have anyone else that could probably be up there? My
top 3, I'd say. David Johnson's been pretty bad this year, so I'll throw him out of there. But I'd say Le'Veon Bell, Zeke Elliott, and Todd Gurley are the 3 best running backs.
You put Zeke Elliott in the top 3?
Huh?
You put Zeke Elliott in the top 3?
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing that good. He had that one great season when they went 13-3, and yeah, he had that big suspension problem last year. But
and even then, he still ran for, I think, 1,000 yards or nearly there after missing 6 games.
Okay. And we'll see how the season progresses because that Dallas team is struggling.
Yeah, and you can't really get nothing going when they're stacking the box and your quarterback isn't really doing well. My biggest problem with the Steelers is their defense. No one's really talking about that. And it's kind of with the Chiefs, too. Both of their defense has been pretty terrible, and I think that's the Achilles heel of this team. It is the defense. I think if they don't make the playoffs, that will be why.
Do you mean Dallas? Or do you mean Kansas City?
I'm talking about Pittsburgh here now.
Oh, you're talking about Pittsburgh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. They let Fitzpatrick. Yeah, Fitzpatrick did throw 3 interceptions, but he did also pass for 400 yards.
Yeah,
he did make a comeback in the second half. And almost was successful.
And those interceptions are pretty much gifts to the Steelers secondary and all that. They weren't necessarily anything where the guy was jumping the route. They were just terrible throws.
Yeah, they weren't close.
Yeah,
they were pretty sloppy. They were pretty Fitz-tragic, I guess people are been saying. So I guess the saying with Fitzpatrick is you'll Fitz and then say whatever you like.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with the Steelers' offense. It's more so their defense. But that's pretty much what I have on the Steelers. As far as the Bucks, like I said, it's inevitable when Fitzpatrick has that game. So I'd say.
Do you see the Bucks making the playoffs?
It's too early to tell. I'd say they're kind of like with Miami. It's like a wait and see type of thing.
All right. I'll say they could squeeze in a wild card spot.
They'd have to get past Green Bay and all those other teams to get
I think Green
there.
Bay's taking the division still.
Oh, then do you have Minnesota?
Oh, right. Minnesota and Chicago.
Minnesota, Chicago, you got...
Oh, yeah, never mind. The Buccaneers aren't making the playoffs. This NFC is too deep at the moment. That NFC North is going to make problems for a lot of wild card players. Wild card teams, excuse me.
It's a possibility, but like I said, I think we just got to wait and see who's a pretender, who's a contender, and all that.
Yeah. And then, absolutely, it's only week 3. We got 14 more weeks to go.
13 more games, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we got week 17.
Yeah.
People forget that it's week 17 because of the bye week.
Yeah.
They think of 16 games. But we do have a long ways to go before we can even think about playoffs and who's going to get it. But we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll talk about just teams that have disappointed right now. I know we said it was early, but we should still talk about the teams that have started off sloppy and teams that have started off hot, and we'll get right on that when we get back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety. The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just talked about the Monday Night Football matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now we're going to go on to talk about disappointing teams as of the first 3 weeks of the season. Who's your number one most disappointing team?
I'm not going to say the Bills because I expected this.
I think a lot of people expected this.
I'd say, the Raiders, can we really... I think they had, the fans had expectations, but can we really say they've been disappointing, or is this maybe who they really are?
That's a tough thing to go with. Because they signed him to a 10-year deal. Mm-hmm. I think they assumed it wasn't going to work out the next first couple of years, so they gave him time to build a team.
Yeah, because you heard Gruden in some of these early season, right before the season press conferences and all. The guy was kind of hinting at the fact, okay, we don't have enough talent here to win. And this is more
I think he made that pretty clear.
Yeah, this is more a work in progress type of thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And you give a guy a 10-year deal, and I've seen Raider fans, well, not Raider fans, but fans around the league and all that talking about, how long is Gruden going to last? Maybe he's out after this year, next year, whatnot. Gruden's there for at least 5 years. You're not going to give a guy.
I think even more than that.
Yeah.
I think you sign him to a 10-year deal. You're thinking he's going to need more time to rebuild than most.
I think Gruden, yes, he's now the coach of the Oakland Raiders, but that contract was more of all right, we want you to be the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And you'll be here at least for the time being given. We got a couple more years.
But the question is, once they get to Vegas, will they be a team to look out for, or will they be a disappointing new team in a new city?
They got this year, and then I think next year. Yeah, they got this year and next year in Oakland.
Have they broke ground on the new stadium?
Yeah, they already broke ground. They're already building it.
How much money is it? Is it the most expensive stadium so far?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked the numbers. I know it'll be up there with LA too, because I know LA Stadium. They're gonna.
It's 1.5 or something.
Yeah, they're gonna. I know.
The designers of the stadium look pretty nice. Yeah. Both Vegas and LA.
And I know LA, they'll have the new NFL headquarters there also.
In that same stadium?
In that, yeah.
Or in the region?
Area. Well, not right by the stadium, I believe.
Right by the stadium?
Yeah, pretty much side by side or whatnot. I know they got a whole big thing planned for that stadium and all. And I guess that's a little bit fun.
Well, from the size of it, you got to do more than just football.
Yeah.
I think the LA Rams are going to make a lot of money in that stadium. Plus, the Chargers are going to rent out that place so they can play games in there.
The Chargers are just the forgotten team of the teams of the LA.
They just moved to LA at the wrong time. They should have stayed in San Diego. I don't know what. Dean Spanos was. That's not a very smart move.
I think they should have just moved the Raiders to LA. If anything, I guess I get the Vegas move. But if
Vegas was desperate for a team, and they bent over backwards for the Raiders. And if you were the Raiders, you had to take that.
Man, the Raiders in LA are going to be different. But yeah, as far as the Raiders go, disappointing.
Raiders in Las Vegas is just... Who thought of a football team in Vegas?
I never did. But as far as the Raiders going being disappointing this year, yeah, they have been. Derek Carr hasn't been necessarily great. I think Derek Carr gets an unfair shake. I think a lot of the... I saw him throw an interception against Miami on Sunday, and I think it was more so Mark Cooper giving up on the route, because I think there was 3 guys around him, but he did get in behind those 3 guys. And Carr, where he put the ball, if Cooper keeps running, he does at least have an opportunity to catch it in stride, and if not that, then go up and get it. But him giving up, kind of just kills the playoff as it is. The Raiders' defense has actually kind of impressed me. They're not as bad as I thought. Obviously they have pass rush problems, but I don't know. I think Gruden kind of silently told us, yes, this team isn't going to be as great as you guys maybe expect.
Yeah, I think he was hold the expectations for the next few years. Uh-huh. And rightfully so.
What about you? You got any other disappointing teams? I know I got a couple more, but we'll let you go with him next.
That's a tough one because it's so early to tell, but I would say my probably the most disappointing team right now is the Eagles. Defending champs haven't been playing that well.
Yeah, they're 2-1 though.
Well, just Carson Wentz did play well, and he's back, granted. But that one loss kind of showed a lot of holes in their team.
I don't think it was holes in the team. I think it was just Nick Foles.
You think it was Nick Foles holding them down?
I think Carson Wentz is one of those quarterbacks who just elevates the play around with the guys around him. Pretty much.
It's odd coming from another guy from North Dakota State.
Yeah, I don't think North Dakota State's a powerhouse in the FCS.
They're Alabama.
And they can beat some D1 teams. I know they beat
Iowa.
Yeah, they beat Iowa, I think, a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would definitely put the Eagles on a watch, like on alert almost.
I mean,
like,
I'd say they weren't necessarily great Sunday against the Colts.
Well, I would definitely just put them in like a don't expect them to be first seed again type of thing. Seeing the Vikings play last week made some big questions about that team also.
Yeah, I mean,
Losing 27-6 to a team that lost by 40 to Baltimore really shows a lot.
yeah, and I think with them losing to the Bills, I mean, you look at it. I think it was just an instance of they just completely overlooked the Bills. And
Do you think Josh Allen, it was just a beginner's luck type of thing?
I wouldn't say beginner's luck. Josh Allen, I think, is actually going to be a good quarterback. So you're going to see him have these games where I think, honestly, I mean, I didn't like Josh Allen coming into the draft after watching him hit some throws in the preseason and all that.
He had some accuracy issues.
Yeah, and he's still, I don't know. Josh Allen, I think, it's too early to tell with Josh Allen. I'm not going to make any decisions on him right now.
Yeah, but taking the Bills, who looked absolutely the worst team in the league, to beating one of the best teams in the league, really, or supposedly one of the best teams in the league, really showed how good he can be. And I guess if you have a good quarterback, your other teammates will rally around you and not retire at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, we were basically just talking about on Friday making our picks whether or not the Vikings would cover that 16.5-point spread. But, I mean,
we were way off.
That,
well, technically, they did just the opposite way.
Yeah. But you look at it, another team I think has been really disappointing so far to start the season is Dallas.
Oh, absolutely.
Dak Prescott, his first year was great. I mean, about as good as a rookie year as you could have.
13-3 is pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, and then his second year, I mean, he did take a step back, but of course, I mean, rookie QBs and second-year players do seemingly tend to take a step back given there's film on them and all that, and you can really game plan for the guy. I thought maybe this would be a year where he steps up a bit. Now you got Zeke full-time. He's not going to be suspended or anything like that, but the guy just hasn't looked good. The offensive line is terrible. The receivers are awful. Sean Lee's already hurt with a hamstring injury. I mean, the only solid, consistent player there is Zeke Elliott, who I think had over 100 yards against Seattle.
Do you think